Okay, we can start.
Ya, kita bisa
No,
mulai.
ya kita bisa mulai. Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang teman-teman semua. Thank you for joining us, Akiko-san, and welcome to the guest lecture series. We are planning to invite more and more practitioners, especially those who are involved in peace building process in Southeast Asia. You are the first one who gave the lecture in the series, and another one we are trying to invite the other scholar also who engage in peace building process in Aceh, in Papua, in Ambon, in the other part of the world also, and we hope that so many scholars give the speech in this class, and a student can get benefit from this lecture. Ya, kita akan mengawali guest lecture ini ya. Ada bisa nanti dalam bahasa Indonesia atau bahasa Inggris, teman-teman. Waktunya kurang lebih 1,5 jam. Nanti Akiko akan berbicara kurang lebih selama 1 jam. Dan teman-teman nanti mohon aktifkan kamera agar kita bisa lihat serius mendengarkan ya. Terus selain itu nanti 30 menit setelah Akiko bicara kurang lebih 1 jam, 30 menit kita akan berikan untuk tanya jawab. Jadi teman-teman mohon disiapkan pertanyaan-pertanyaannya, dan you can ask both in English or in Indonesia ya. Akiko ini sangat piawai sekali dalam bahasa Indonesianya gitu. Jadi Akiko Sang beliau sudah kurang lebih 6 tahun tadi di Indonesia, jadi teman-teman bisa menanyakan baik itu dalam bahasa Indonesia maupun dalam bahasa Inggris gitu. Sedikit-sedikit mengerti lah gitu ya. Oke, time is yours, Akiko Sang.
Oke, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
So, kalau bisa saya mau lihat mukanya teman-temannya ya, dan mau lihat reaction juga. Nanti saya
Ya,
ada pertanyaan juga ya.
tolong.
So, my name is Akiko from the Sasakawa Peace Foundation. So, I was invited as a practitioner, but of course, I studied until Ph.D. actually, and then on area studies, and especially Indonesia and conflict analysis. Jadi saya bisa bahasa Indonesia karena tinggal mungkin kira-kira 5 tahun di Indonesia, khususnya di Aceh, di Ambon, 2 tahun di Ambon, 3 tahun di Jakarta. Jadi saya bisa bahasa Indonesia. Tapi hari ini campur bahasa Inggris dan bahasa Indonesia ya. Terus saya kerja di Sasakawa Peace Foundation. Itu salah satu lembaga atau foundation, non-profit organization in Tokyo, Japan. But also I'm teaching at the university, in several university in Japan, in Tokyo, on the Southeast Asia studies or peace building and conflict analysis and so on. Actually, my focus is peace building, But the peace building, actually, there are 4 tahap, So preventive diplomacy, peacemaking, peacekeeping, and post-conflict peace building, So usually, orang Jepang, artinya JICA or whatever Japanese NGO or Japanese government support the post-conflict peace building, usually. But now I'm more interested in, or I am doing, is more peace mediation support. It means during the conflict, I'm enter the place, then do some mediation support. Not to be the mediator, but to mediate the dialogue, to support the mediation. That's what I am doing. So through my experience, I am explaining a little bit on the conflict in Southeast Asia, and then later I will relate it to the natural resources issues. Okay? So I heard that you are around 20, 21, 22 years old. Is that true? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Then you know that there violence conflict in Southeast Asia in 21st century. it means that when you was born and until now, there are many conflicts actually in Southeast Asia. Like communal conflict mean that we also call horizontal conflict. Then also separatist movement, we also call vertical conflict. So there are many conflicts in Southeast Asia. This is very rough peta ya. Tapi kan ada banyak di Indonesia sebenarnya. Starting Papua, East Timor, Aceh of course, but Ambon, Poso, Kalimantan, Mindanao, so Philippines, and then I will talk later about Pathani, southern Thailand, also in Myanmar. Actually, so many conflict. So I just wanted to talk a little bit on Maluku conflict. Have you heard about Maluku conflict? Conflict in Ambon? Tidak pernah ya? Mungkin teman-teman masih kecil, jadi tidak pernah dengar ya. But the conflict in Maluku happened 1999. So you are already in this dunia kah atau belum ya? Atau sudah lahir atau belum? Anyway, 1999 January, during the Idul Fitri, started the conflict. And then the small dispute between Christian and the Muslims, very small dispute, but become a very big outbreak of the violence between Christian community and Muslim community. And they not only started from Ambon, Kota Ambon, but spread throughout Maluku. Then 1999 to 2002, so many mosques, church are destroyed, and so-called Laskar Jihad. Have you ever heard Laskar Jihad? Tidak pernah ya? Anyway, there is one Java militia called Laskar Jihad also say that this is the jihad. And then datang ke Ambon, terus ada banyak internasional mujahidin juga datang ke Ambon, terus jadi menjadi kacau di Ambon. Tapi ada peace initiative started, and then the JK Yusuf Kala is actually initiated. Then Marino Peace Agreement happened 2002 February, but still until 2006 or 2007 still continued the minor bombing, and then some riot also in Ambon. And not only just Ambon, Buru Island, Saparu Island, Haluku Island, Selam Island, all over Maluku, province. And then also the different conflict, but also the North Maluku also. So that area was a big conflict during the 1999 until 2004 or something. But you understand that this period is the transition of the democracy. So 1998, Suharto era finished, and then started the conflict. So many are saying that military actually wanted to, messed up all the situations, and then they don't want to democratization of the Indonesia. So very similar what happened in Myanmar. So I think it is very important that orang Indonesia belajar sejarah, especially waktu transisi demokrasi. So then you can understand more about Myanmar situation, I think. But anyway, I was lived in Ambon. Saya tinggal di Ambon kira-kira 2 tahun, both Muslim community and then Christian community. So ada homestay. So I have a family, mean that ibu dan bapak di Muslim community and then the Christian community in Ambon. So I was doing a Ph.D. research in Maluku. You see that I took a picture, both mosque and then church. So more than 10,000 people, many people say 10,000 were killed because of the conflict. And 330,000 were displaced, And then many of them are moved to other provinces. That happened, in 21st century in Indonesia. Then I continued the research in Indonesia, not only just Maluku, but also Poso, West Kalimantan, also Aceh. Then now I'm focusing on the Pathani conflict actually. Have you heard about the Pathani conflict? Yes or no? No, yeah? Sebenarnya, the south part or people say deep south Thailand, mean that the very border of the Malaysia and then the Thailand. That part actually the purple color, this part has a conflict since 2004 and violence conflict until now. And then that region called Pathani, because before that area called Pathani Kingdom, they are Malay Muslim. So when I visit Pathani regions, even in Thailand, they can speak Malay. So you can communicate with them with the bahasa Melayu, bahasa Indonesia. So anyway, that area has a Pathani Kingdom. It was a big port city in the 16th centuries. No? But then Thailand, Sham at that time, was intervened since 1786. And then the current border decided by England and Thailand, 1909. So the Pathani people are Muslim and then Malay. So it is not related with the Sham because Sham is a Buddhist mostly. And then the different language, different ethnic group, but the Pathani people are merged to the Thailand, Then started the nation state building process in Thailand. So the Pathani people are fight against Thailand. So this is a vertical conflict like Aceh, So the Pathani people demand protection of their dignity, recognition of the Pathani culture, history, and language. But so far, 7,500 people has died since 2004. Right now, there's a bomb, killing, tortured, it happens in Pathani. So now I often go to Pathani because of Corona this year. Last year I could not go to Pathani, but the working in peace building issues for 10 years already in Pathani right now. So before going to about the natural resources issues, I just wanted to make sure that you understand a little bit of history. So actually, there are so many people who disagree with current national borders. And then there are aspirations of independence as a countries. You know why, So I just wanted to ask you. So if you can show me the face and please let me know, show me. Yeah? So that is a very basic history class. Okay. So I just wanted to ask you if you can unmute is also fine. So please tell me that which colonial countries are occupied. Okay. For example, Indonesia, which nation states are colonized? Indonesia?
Di unmute, teman-teman di
Unmute. Just say which country are actually occupied Indonesia?
Netherlands and Japan.
Yes, exactly, Netherlands and Japan. How about Malaysia?
UK.
So of course UK.
UK, huh? Okay, then how about Philippines?
Philippines is US.
US and come on,
Spain.
everyone.
If
Yes.
wrong. Yeah.
So everyone, you can participate. Yes, Philippines and Spain and America. Yes. So I just put it one. It's Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. Which country occupied those area?
Vietnam by the US.
Yes, recently, yes. But Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia.
France.
You don't remember? France, yes. Okay, the Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia were occupied by France. So how about Thailand?
Thailand, no one.
Exactly, yes. Thailand actually keep as an independent country, yes. But how about Myanmar? How about Myanmar? Someone you can say the answer if you know. Myanmarnya UK, okay, England. So this is a basic the colonial age in Southeast Asia. Tapi itu memang penting kalau memahami konflik, ya. So that's why I just wanted to say that most of the Southeast Asian country experienced colonial rules. And then demarcation of border by big power means, for example, tadi Thailand. Siapa yang decide, ya, decide Malaysia and Thailand border? Itu waktu itu Malaysia itu England, ya. Anglo means that England, but Anglo-Malay, right? And Thailand as a independent country. So orang England and then the Sham, Thailand bicara, terus put the border. So bordernya actually the river. That's why the border line is like this, you know? You see the border line like this? Because this is a very small river here. So they don't care so much about the local context. Ethnicity, religion, histories, you know, they don't care so much. Just big power decided the border until now. So that the Pathani is a Malay Muslim country before as a kingdom, but entered to the Thailand, you know. So the ethnicity different and then the religion different, but they are part of Thailand right now because England and Thailand decided the border. Then okay, you can see here. This is actually me. This is a very small river, right? This is a border between that I'm standing the Thailand, Pathani, and just over there is Malaysia. Okay, so you can see very small river. This is the border. So of course, the river is not that to divide the people. River is something that kumpul people kan sebenarnya ya. So those people without passport just go and back right now. Even their nationality, maybe passport is Thailand or passport is Malaysia, but they just go and back, you know, because they cannot control all, because all the river is a border. So the country also cannot, the government also cannot control all, you know. So right now in Pathani there is a conflict. So there are a lot of armed group actually called Barisan Revolution Nasional, the BRN so-called. For example, BRN want to independent from Thailand. So they are fighting like GAM. Yeah? So like GAM in Aceh. So BRN now is fighting against Thailand, but Thailand security forces, military and police. And they fight and they run away to Malaysia using this small boat, you know. Just there, just cross the border, just cross the river, then there's Malaysia. So it really happens every day in Pathani. So that's why just I wanted to say is the current national border were decided demarcation of the border by big power, not the local. They don't consider about local context, no. And plus, in the process of nation-state building, so large number of the people are integrated, yes, as a Thailand or as a Malaysians, as a Indonesians. But while many others actively avoid the assimilation policy to be the Indonesians, to be a Thai people, you know, and then some of them are left behind. So those people experience inequality, injustice, and oppressions by the government, you know. So then accumulated the frustration and started the conflict. So then you understand what is assimilation policy means, that the single centralized language. For example, even Pathani, Southern Thailand, they speak Malay in the house, but in the school they have to learn Thai. They have to study Bahasa Thai, no? It is very difficult actually for them, you know. So that's why in all in Thailand, the southern part of Thailand, the Pathani region, is the lowest education level in Thailand because of the language, But all the exam in Thailand, right? So that is also one of the problem. So anyway, single centralized language, and then the capital, the government ignore the diversity, no? So the single centralized language and cultures and ignoring diversity. That is actually the big problem for the nation state building and then assimilation policies. So one of the main structural causes of the ethnic conflict, mean that vertical conflict, is through the nation state building and then assimilation policies. So for example, schools, the language and history only one. Maybe you also learned about the Indonesian history. Maybe you come from Java, you come from Sumatra, you come from, Sulawesi. And they have different history, but maybe in the history book, you learn the one Indonesian history, right? And then you learn the language. So this also the older process is the nation state building process. And of course, national flag, museum, all are, the nation states. And also right now we are discussing a lot about nationalism. So I think today I don't discuss a lot about the nation state issues. So what is nation state? What is nationalism? We don't discuss today, but I think it is very important to understand what is nation state, and then who made these national borders, and then why this kind of assimilation policy started and happened. That I think very important to understand the conflict. So anyway, so those assimilation policy also very much assimilation policy is okay, but single centralized language and cultures, ignoring diversity, then oppressed those minorities are a problem. So those mainly minority groups, people demand protection of their dignity, of course, recognition of their culture, history, and language. So that's the kind of starting the conflict. So for example, in Southeast Asia, we just see that Aceh, Papua, Pathani, we don't see that the very violent conflict, but obviously in Champa, before Cham, in Vietnam, Cambodia, that area also, they are also Muslims. And then of course in the Mindanao, Bangsamoro right now, Bangsamoro is a 13 different ethnic group, then get together, they call Bangsamoro. Because of the history of, occupation by the Spain, and Spain called the Muslim to Moro, so they are saying the Bangsa, of course, Bangsa, Moro, So the Mindanao also created this Muslim, but different ethnic group, but created one kind of, right now is the autonomous region, special autonomous region in Mindanao, because the Philippines mostly Catholic, and then different ethnic group actually, but the single centralized language were taught, and the biggest problem right now in Southeast Asia is Myanmar, I can say, because of February 1st, as you know, that coup d'etat happened, and then the crackdown, and so many ethnic minority groups also fight against Myanmar military. But before the coup d'etat, also they are fighting from actually in Myanmar case, they are not fighting for independent, but mostly they are fighting for federalism, but they want to have their own territory, and they want to decide their own things, by themselves. That's kind of things, some demand, because Myanmar also bicara semua kan bahasa Burma, but ethnic group, Kachin, Karen, Chin, all a different language. And majority are Buddhist in Burma, Myanmar, but Kachin, Karen, many are Christian too, no? So again, different religion, different ethnic group, different language. But the central government push them to only study Burma, so single centralized language and culture. That's the making a lot of frustration and inequality, injustice. So that's the most vertical conflict in Southeast Asia. So that's why very much important to understand the history, and then until now continuously, happened this not a trauma, but this kind of things, So from here, I want to discuss about natural resources issues. So what would happen if the issue of natural resources were added to this kind of conflict? No? So I think that you're IPB, so you know a lot of, agriculture issues, natural resources issues. But if we are talking with the conflict, it's a more become complex issues. So the richness of natural resources in a conflict area, make the conflict even more complex. That's one thing. And then the various actors involved for the conflict, including international actors. So then competitions among the actors for natural resources and rivalry for the interest is a grow for more intense, if the richness of natural resources. So the international actors also here is very important. So they have the technology to develop the natural resources. They are also the destination for export the material. I mean, agricultural product or gas or oil, whatever. But they are also destinations, become the destinations. And they have their own national interests too. So we need to know those kind of things. Then natural resources become one of the source of conflict. No? Then I just wanted to say briefly about the case, about the Rakhine state. So in Myanmar, yeah. So why I choose Rakhine? Because it is a really, how to say, the complex conflict right now. So I think it is good to know the Rakhine issues. And then because of the Myanmar right now, it's a big problem. So I think it is good to know. So again, this purple color, Rakhine, is they have the Rakhine kingdom. They call Arakan kingdom actually. So it is a very close, close to the sea and then big maritime nations. No? Then after colonial era means that England occupied Malaysia, but the England occupied Malaysia and India together. So this is in Anglo-India actually. No? Then the Burma territories. So the 1947 Burma independent, and then again nation state building happens. Then just I told you that there are a lot of operation and single centralized language and so on. But anyway, 2009, because of the frustrations, Arakan army was formed. So state in the Palewa is the Chin state, is the yellow part. Just I put the red color. That area is the center of the Arakan army. So they want to independent from Myanmar, as Arakan, because the heritage of the Arakan kingdom. They are mostly Buddhist. And then another thing is, you may know that about Rohingya issues. 2017, Rohingya refugees also happened. And they are also created somehow Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army. So that's also big issues. Maybe you know. So since actually 2006, fighting between Arakan Army, I put it 2006, but 2016, sorry, between Tahmadol, mean that the National Army, Myanmar National Army, and then the Arakan Army are very much intense. And then so many displaced people right now in Rakhine. That's why not only Rohingya, but the Arakan Army and the Buddhist community also infected by the conflict. So the Rakhine now is two things, Rohingya issue and then Arakan Army issues, mean that the vertical conflict, Burma Army and then Arakan Army, you know. Then the 2020 March, even the Myanmar military called Arakan Army as a terrorist organization, you know. So it's a very much complex conflict right now. But related to the natural resources, Rakhine State in the seashore has a gas field. So that's why several foreign companies started to involve. Most recently is a joint venture between Total, is a French, and Australian Woodside Energy. Maybe you heard about those companies. And the others also signed, agreed to full scale of the production from a gas field, okay, in the offshore of the Bay of Bengal. And China, obviously, developing a deep water port in Rakhine, and then economic zone too. In the in Rakhine State called Chaopyu is the one area. Later I will show you the pictures, the map. But also South Korea, POSCO group also have a plan to develop a gas field. No? So this, I'm sorry, itu kan semua bahasa Jepang, tapi kira-kira mengerti ya. So the Rakhine State is located in a very important, geopolitically very important place for China and India. For example, you know that you see this here. I can see this maybe pointer is better. Yeah, yeah. You see here. Ya, bisa lihat. Yeah. So the Kolkata in India, and then to the Situe is the Myanmar. I mean Rakhine State actually. Here is Rakhine State. So the Situe, there is of course the port, you know, go and back. But from Situe to Aizawl is the northeast India, you know. Here again, who put this border? You know, Bangladesh and Myanmar. This border is again the river, you know. So England decided this is the Bangladesh, this is Myanmar because of the river, you know. So that's why about talking about Rohingya issues, those areas, obviously Bengali people are living near here. So again, the river is not dividing the people. Just a big power think that river, think that this way and that way. But the people living around the river, the same ethnic group. So some of the Bengal people stay in Bangladesh, some of them stay in Myanmar. So that's a Rohingya crisis also, because all the Muslims, Bengal Muslims stay in Myanmar too, you know. Anyway, so that's why this Situe port to Aizawl, India, that is a Kaladan Road project also. But also another thing is you can see that still it's the same province, mean that the Rakhine State. I just say that Situe, the one port, but China is building another port called Chaopyu. So they want to make a pipeline, natural gas pipeline from Chaopyu to we call Konmei, but the Yunnan, I mean Kunming at Yunnan, no? So as you see that China is need to go to sea because from this sea, you can go to the Middle East to get a lot of oil, you know. So that China no need to go to the Malacca, you know, and go to the China. No need to go, right? Because if there is a Chaopiu, and then there is a pipeline, gas pipeline, and then apalagi di situ ada gas, they can get to China, you know. So that's also two big projects happen in Rakhine. As I told you, Rakhine has a lot of conflict now, right? But then still there are a lot of issue of the natural resources. So the deep, why they are really interested in this area? Because they have a deep water port. I mean, the sea is very deep. That's why big ship can enter that area, no? So that is also another issue that we need to understand. So talking about the natural resources and then the conflict. As I told you, that because of the richness of the natural resources, various actors came to that area. So as you see, that Arakan army is fight against Myanmar government, Myanmar military want to independent. And then the Rohingya peoples, Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army also formed. Of course, they are fighting Tatmadaw, Myanmar State Army and police or militia, of course, fighting. No, but also Myanmar government still in Myanmar are appointed by the interior minister, the governor, no. So Indonesia sudah bisa pilih governor sendiri kan, masing-masing. But still Myanmar, also Thailand, they cannot choose the governor by themselves. The Ministry of Interior appointed and send the governor to that area. Waktu Soeharto begitu ya di Indonesia juga. But anyway, so that's why Myanmar government. And then there are a lot of political party too. So the different interests, so they are fighting each other. And then also the Buddhist community, Muslim community, and other religious groups, communities, and then different ethnic groups, Arakan people, Rohingya people, and other ethnic groups. And because of the natural resources, you know, and then very important, I mean, the geographically and then geopolitically very important. So China, India, France, Australia, South Korea, and of course Japan are interested in, involved, US of course, EU also, and so on. So it's a very much complex, you know, talking about the natural resources and conflict. So the one thing is I was talking about the Rakhine, but so many complex issues. I just very briefly explain, but because of the richness of the natural resources, many actors came in. No, and then I just wanted to show you another cases. Yeah, contoh Papua. As you see, Papua has whatever the mining actually have. So the world largest copper and gold mine, you know, and then operated by Freeport, US. Of course, natural gas, nickel, and other mining you can find in Papua. And in Papua, very much rich, the soil, so agriculture, product, timber, pohon, of course, fishery, and a lot of plantations. So Papua has a lot of natural resources. And as you know, that the Papua also want to independent from Indonesia, right? And then still has a conflict between TNI and the Papuans, And then again, you know all of you, but about Aceh, already conflicted, finished. But why Aceh was a big conflict during the Suharto era, and then until 2005 Helsinki Peace Agreement, until that time, why Aceh had a lot of, the conflict continued. Of course, the more basic or source of the conflict, tadi saya sudah bicara tentang sejarah, tentang the colonial histories, and then the nation state building, and then issue of the injustice, less development, that kind of things too. But at the same time, issue of natural resources also big in Aceh. So Aceh, obviously, that the natural gas and oil. That's why historically, Standard Oil Company, US, also Royal Dutch Shell, the Dutch, developed oil field in Aceh early 20th centuries already. So the Aceh was a very, important place for them to get the oil, So since that time, of course, Royal Dutch Shell, working with the Indonesian government, and then, so that all the profit doesn't go to Aceh, but all go to the central government. That kind of issues also happens. That's why feeling of injustice, feeling of the inequality, that is also source of the conflict. And talking about Kachin, I just show you a little bit the map. Kachin is the north part of the Myanmar. It's a border to China, okay? But Kachin area has a lot of, gems, stone, especially jade mining. It's a huge jade mining. And then almost all are China and Thailand bought this gem. But jade mining is very famous in Kachin. And also a lot of timbers, a lot of trees, pohon, but almost all are got by China. But that's also another issues. But yes, about Kachin also. And then the Mindanao, as you know, that the Philippines, south part of Philippines, of course, nickel mining, and then a lot of agricultural product, timbers, fishery, and plantation. And then in Mindanao, actually, not only just ethnic, and then what I call national nation state building process, and then the issue of the injustice, yes. But another issue is the land issues in Mindanao. Because all the plantations, that, for example, in Japan, if we eat banana, almost all are imported from Philippines. Banana in Japan, that kan di Jepang tidak bisa tumbuh pisang kan? Karena Jepang terlalu dingin, jadi pisangnya tidak ada. Jadi kita kan import semua, tapi hampir semua dari Filipina. Khususnya dari Mindanao. Siapa? Itu Dole, the American company, bikin big plantation and make a banana plantation and sell to the all over the world. Pineapple also, So, but all the American company is making this plantation, and now has a lot of problem of the land issues, environmental issues, and so on. So not only just the conflict, vertical conflict, but also there are a lot of related natural resources related conflict. And again, the return to the related to Indonesia, East Timor also. When East Timor independent 2002, and East Timor think that the gas and oil we have. But the problem is, later I will explain, but the problem is they don't know how to dig, how to develop the oil field, So the East Timor case, Woodside, again, Australia company. And then the American company started to develop gas field, So of course, they had a deal. East Timor get 90%, and then Australia gets 10%, something like that. But still, have to rely on the others, because they cannot produce oil by themselves, even they have natural resources. So there are many natural resources in conflict area. So become more complex issues. No? So the last slide, actually, that the problem just I told you, that the people in the regions don't know and they don't have a skill how to develop, their natural resources, especially gas and oil. So they should rely on others. That is a problem, one thing, because they cannot consider as their resources. Even in their region, they have a natural resources, but they cannot develop, So that is a big problem, one thing. So that's why they have to rely on others. So rely on others means that it's not only just a sentiment issue, but economically, many things have to deal, no? And then talking about the natural resources include agricultural plantation or timbers and so on. Again, it's a big issue of the land issues, become source of the conflict. Especially, for example, the palm oil, contoh di Kalimantan, ya, pasti kan ada masyarakat adat. And then the company came, especially to Indonesia, many of them are Malaysian and then Singaporean company. They developed the palm oil plantations in Kalimantan, for example. But there is a somehow conflict between masyarakat adat and then the profit companies. No, that also started, and then also the related with the human rights issues. That the people who are living there, they have to live from the land, Then there are no subsidy, there are no care, no support. That is also a big problem. Even though the people who can work in the palm plantation get some salary, yes, but still totally the big gap between how much company earn the money and then the payment of the labor, that is also big issues. So obviously has accumulate the injustice feeling, that also become the source of the conflict. And then another thing is I just want to mention about water, air, is a become very important issue in the future. I mean, not just future, but already currently has a big problem. But for example, Mekong Rivers. The Mekong River, obviously, there was, from China, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia. But now the China make a dam in Mekong River, so all the water stop there. So that's why the Mekong River now is kind of habis. So the people who are rely on Mekong River, fishing, whatever the source of river, but now actually the big crisis of the Mekong River. So you can Google it and then you can check about the crisis of Mekong River. But again, the water issue is very important in the very near future. So water also become we can say the natural resources, And then for example, in Japan too. So the people are looking for the pure water, drinkable water. And then, for example, the Hokkaido that Professor Helmi was studying, there are a lot of pure water, but China want to buy the land in Hokkaido and then got the water and sell to China. That issue was become somehow we stopped, but it become very big issues, So again, there is some natural resources, even water, and then foreign actors involved, and then started some kind of conflict too, So just I wanted to say that to study about natural resources like you, and then talking about not only just a big sense of natural resources, but mining, gas, oil, agriculture, land issues, water, whatever natural resources, become the natural resources. And if you study on those issues, you should have awareness, of the conflict, awareness that natural resources can be a source of conflict, you know. So the knowledge and skill of the conflict analysis and actor mapping is very important. The actor mapping of global and local context. I just want to explain a little bit. So as I told you that natural resources are very much related to the conflict. So have to have awareness of the, there is a lot of richness of the natural resources means possibly becomes a source of conflict. So you have to understand also, or you have to have a knowledge and skill how to analyze the conflict. The first step is the actor mapping. Tadi, I show you, this is not actor mapping, just this is I show the actors saja. But there are so many actors. And the actor mapping means that what the relationship between, for example, Arakan Army, ARSA, the relationship between Muslim community and Christian community or Buddhist community. And then what the relationship with the national political party and then the local political party. For example, here in the Rakhine, Arakan Army and then Arakan National Party is actually closed, And then before, Arakan Army and then ARSA was fight each other, but right now they are kind of relationship and fight versus Myanmar State Army, So the conflict mapping means that related with the relationship also all the time change, but I think it is important to have the skill or knowledge to understand the conflict itself, and then actor mapping skill. Include global actors, also local context. No? That's I just wanted to say. And then another thing is we always call conflict resolution, but actually it is difficult to resolve the conflict completely. But the conflict transformation we call. So that we have to think win-win solutions, of course, and then see the sustainable development and peace building. So the conflict transformation process is of course peace building process too, but that kind of skill or that kind of knowledge, that kind of analysis skill are very important for you to see the natural resources in the areas. Not only just the economical perspective or economical development. So I hope through this series of the peace building and then the conflict issues to learn in the class, I hope you understand what is conflict, what is the cause of the conflict, and then how to understand the conflict, how to analyze the conflict, and then how to solve actually not solve, but how to transform conflict to the sustainable development of the natural resources. That's what I wanted to make you think about peace and conflict. Okay, I will stop here. Then I will get some questions, and if possible, I can somehow answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Akiko-san. Yeah, this is very insightful speech here. I think because a lot of new information. For example, like in Rohingya, in Pathani, I never expected so many actors involved in this conflict. And then in Myanmar as well, in Indonesia, we just talking about Myanmar issues like religious conflict between Muslim and Buddhist or so on and so forth. So I think, yeah, it's more complex.
Yes.
Like proxy war between India and China, and also there are a lot of gas or natural resources.
Yes.
Yeah, it is also linear with our lecture. Previously, we talked about the natural resources as a source of blessing or a source of curse. I mean, it's kind of berkah atau kutukan gitu ya.
Betul.
For example, like in Papua, we also seen that so many conflict happen. Even there are a lot of natural resources. Yeah, thank you very much for you.
Yes. Just I wanted to show that how complex it is, you know, if natural resources issues in more complex, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, anyone, do you have any comment or questions?
Coba dengan bahasa Inggris ya.
Ya, coba dengan bahasa Inggris.
Kalau tidak bisa bahasa Indonesia juga tidak apa-apa. Tapi coba bahasa Inggris.
Oke, tidak apa-apa masalah grammarnya salah-salah
Ya,
apa segala
betul.
macam. Saya juga salah-salah terus.
Saya juga tidak bagus bahasa Inggrisnya.
Tolong hidupkan your camera ya, and we can discuss with Akiko-san. She has a lot of experience in peace building process, especially in Pathani, in Myanmar. Kita nggak bakal dapat lagi nih yang kayak gini nih. Tolong nanti teman-teman silakan tanyakan. Imam, silakan Imam.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Cool. So thank you, Ms. Akiko, for that insightful presentations with respect to the conflict resolutions. And yeah. So based on my understanding coming from Mr. JK Subkala, based on the idea of conflict resolution, be it in the Aceh or Poso or any country,
Yes.
the key important for conflict resolution is distribution of power. So what is your view with respect to distribution of power? Is it the one and only thing that we can do in order to resolve the problem inside the conflict, or is there any other things that we can actually comprehend in doing the conflict resolution based on especially ethnicity or religious, conflict in between people? Thank you so much.
Thank you. About JK, especially, he is doing a very good job in Aceh, also Ambon, Poso. But talking about Ambon and Poso is a more like a central government initiative, not from the below, no. So I did a lot of research in Ambon especially, and then the people who visited, who went to the Marino Peace Agreement, they are not ready actually to sign the peace agreement, but insist by JK actually. So, but it is good that JK was saying that you want peace or war, you know, and then if you cannot sign, mean that we habiskan semua, you know, so we will send totally and habis. So it kind of a bit big pressure to the people, and then they say, oh, then sign, you know. So I mean that. So sometimes the mediator or some facilitator needs some, you know, the big power. It's true, but cannot sustain this peace agreement if there is no initiative from the below. So the only just a top-down approach, it's not actually work well. So that's why now I'm really focusing on the bottom-up approach for the peace process, especially. So talking about Southern Thailand, now we are, making a lot of group of people and then initiating a lot of peace and the promoting peace initiative and then local peace dialogue, you know. So if there are no kind of bottom-up approach, even there are good facilitator like JK, but cannot sustain the peace, you know. That's just I wanted to mention. Want to add about it. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Akiko. Yeah, it is interesting how to sustain the peace, yeah, based on the bottom up or top down, or what kind of process that we need to do in sustaining the peace. Okay, anyone? Ayo dicoba bertanya.
Jangan malu-malu.
Akiko bisa bahasa Indonesia sama bahasa Inggris. Silakan. Akiko-san bisa dua-duanya. Ayo, tapi kalau bisa dicoba pakai bahasa Inggris.
Oke. Siapa?
Excuse me.
Ruhaina. Yes.
Oh, ada dua nih.
Yes,
Silakan.
Ruhainai. Okay.
Okay, so people in the developed country who has a lot of natural resources, for example, Indonesia, mostly they don't have good human resources. So they don't know how to process or how to develop those natural resources. So it creates chance for international country to occupy those natural resources. So based from this, so what is the best solution for us as Indonesian people? Should we have to cooperate with another country to process our natural resources or something? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, this is a matter of time. You know, for example, Japan, kita tidak punya natural resources. We don't have no natural resources. Oil tidak ada, nickel tidak ada apa-apa. So we really need to get, to buy the things, natural resources, gas, oil, whatever, the material, and then we develop something and sell. No, so that's why Japan really, urgent to get some skill. Otherwise, we cannot hidup, But in Indonesia, santai saja because you have a lot. Then the why I say that matter of time, because of the during the colonial period, you could not get this kind of access, the skill and so on. So all the big power, colonial power, it's sucking all the natural resources. So but right now there are no colonial power. There are no, so now the Indonesians can develop by yourself. You can get the skill, then in very near future you can use your natural resources by yourself, and you can sell to others, by your own initiative, So that's why I think no need to worry anything, the Indonesia, because I think in just 10, 15 years, definitely you can be the top 5 country in the world. And then for that, you, like your generation, should learn a lot of technology, of course, technique, skills, knowledge, and you can utilize all the natural resources by yourselves, So that's just what I want to say is Japan, we also was a big power, then we also colonized, the Southeast Asia countries, and then we lost the war, then we returned to our home, but then we developed because of we had some, how to say, we got some experience, how to build, how to make, then it's a crisis, fear of crisis is very high. So we are, develop very fast. But because we don't have anything, that's why we have to survive, That's why, we were working too hard. But Indonesia tidak usah kerja banyak kan, santai saja, tidak ada masalah karena bisa hidup. But just I want to say matter of time. Don't worry, in 10, 15 years, you can dominate, the world. That's why it is very important. Your generation is a super important, critical generation for Indonesians' development, I think. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Akiko-san. Yeah, Akiko-san not only share her experience for the conflict, also she is also sharing optimism. Yeah.
No, very optimism.
Yeah.
Actually, Japan needs Indonesia,
Oh, really? Yeah,
Not
yeah.
Indonesia needs Japan. Japan need Indonesia in I think in just 10 years, definitely. Because our population is decreasing, all the things. So we have developed the country of the problem, Just you say that developing countries, actually Japan is already developed, but going down, So it's a different stage. So different, time spans, But the Japan is the developed a lot of problems, developed country, but of the problem. So I really hope that Indonesia, can grow more, and then have a not just optimism. This is really it happens definitely.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway,
Okay, thank you, Akiko. Anyone of
siapa
us?
lagi?
Siapa lagi? Ayo. Tadi ada satu lagi kayaknya. Siapa
Ya,
yang
ya.
tadi saya dengar ada? Ayo silakan. Halo, halo.
Ya, apa saja
Silakan.
ya. Not necessarily just only conflict issues. You
Ya.
can ask also about Japan, about whatever, about Myanmar also.
Silakan.
Yes.
Saya Mas, mungkin.
Ya, silakan Adela.
Okay, good morning, Miss Akiko. My name is Adela, and I want to ask some question too. But first, let me speak in Bahasa because my poor English.
No,
And
good English.
and maybe Mr. Helmi can help me to translate the question. Sorry. So, izin bertanya terkait pengalaman dari Miss Akiko untuk melihat dan meneliti konflik yang ada di berbagai daerah maupun negara. Kira-kira kasus apa yang paling membekas? Dalam artian konfliknya itu yang terlalu tajam dan sulit untuk diredakan, dan apakah konflik tersebut sudah benar-benar selesai atau masih berlanjut?
Okay.
Yeah.
Terima kasih. I lived in Ambon for 2 years, so I can say that I cannot say tajam, but it's really intense conflict happen in Ambon actually, more than Papua, more than not Papua, more than Pathani, more than I can say that Kachin or so on. Because Ambon conflict, I just show you that 10,000 people die, but very intense since 1999 to 2002 is especially 1999 2000. These 2 years has a really very bad bloodshed, So then when I started to live there, it's 2005. Still, you can see all the rumah apa saja, store, whatever, church, mosque are destroyed, and then the many people still living in the camp. Internal displaced peoples are live in the refugee camp, IDP camp, many of them. Then I visited many IDP camp in Ambon. You cannot imagine now. I sometimes go to Ambon because I have a lot of friends there, but you cannot imagine that 2005, 5, 6, 7, when I lived in Ambon, you cannot imagine like that if compared to now. So it means that now Ambon become much, much safer. But even I know that, for example, 2013, 2000, also 16, I think, there are some small riot between Christian and Muslims. Because right now, in Ambon, are segregation between Muslim and Christians. So before the conflict, in Ambon city, campur between Christian and Muslim. So the one area, Christian house, Muslim house, Christian house, Muslim house. But right now, what happened in Ambon city is this area all Christian, this area all Muslims, So the border between Muslim and Christians always somehow broke, some some fight, some, then the people in Ambon, for example, Muslim area, go to the school in the area. So in the school, there are no Christians. The Christian area, of course, they go to the one school and all Christians. So they don't have an interaction at all, So before in the high school, whatever, Muslim Christian together, study together. But until university, they don't study together right now in Maluku, in Ambon especially. So this is, I can say that, as you say, that completely finish the conflict, I have a big question. Still potential of conflict is there. If they don't have a more interaction and if they don't understand each other, Muslim and Christian community, and they always have some distrust between Muslim community and the Christian community. So, for example, I know that because I have both friends, Muslim and Christian friends. So if I'm with only Muslim friends, they are saying the bad things about Christians. And they're only just a Christians, they are saying bad things about Muslims. I can hear both because I have their, the friends, but that's why my answer is, the totally changed, and then the conflict over, and then I can see the very peaceful situation now, and then it was very intense in a conflict, but now become very good situation. But still have to continue this peace initiative, otherwise we'll return easily, not maybe like last time, but those peace initiative cannot stop, never stop, So your generation also have to, understand what is a conflict, why you feel the, kind of distrust versus different religious group, why I'm not really, trust this group, So that's, you also need to reflect by yourself, why I don't, really understand them, So it means you have to study more, see, so to understand others more. That's initiative have to keep trying, that's what I think. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Miss Akiko.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Akiko-san. Yeah, it is good point, how to initiate the peace. And then in Jakarta also, we have like so many exclusive perumahan-perumahan perumahan-perumahan yang eksklusif yang terdiri hanya satu misalkan grup, and the other side is just one group, not combine one another. So yeah, I think it's a good point. Okay, anyone have a question or discussion or point of view? Ini kesempatan yang langka ya. Oh, Dimas, silakan.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. First, I would say thank you for Miss Akiko for presenting the presentation. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Dimas, and I just wanna ask about what if the operation come from the government, and what kind of peacemaking or conflict solver that with the problems. I think if there is any study case that comes from your experience, I will say thank you.
Okay, you mean that from the government initiative for peace?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of the initiative the government did actually. For example, just I told you that the Indonesian government, like Aceh case, if Yusuf Kala was at that time SBA, if they are not agree to discuss or to talk, of course, never happens to peace talk, peace dialogue, and then peace agreement also. So the government initiative also very important, and then government definitely had a lot of budget, the money for the peace building initiative. You can see, for example, Ambon, Poso, Kalimantan government give a lot of money in a budget for the, of course, reconstructions because they destroyed all the building. So of course, government make a budget for that. But also government also make a budget for the peace initiative too. But only government initiative is not enough. That's what I just wanted to say. And then, for example, the government organizations within the country, there is a conflict, and then government involved. Yes, of course. But for example, maybe you also wanted to ask that, for example, Indonesia government help other countries. No, for example, because Indonesia had a lot of experience of the conflict and solve the problem. So actually, Indonesia can play the big role for the mediation in other countries. For example, Malaysia is doing this. For example, in the Mindanao case, the facilitator is Malaysian government. Okay, so the Malaysia also happens 65, 75, 65. Also, there is the ethnic conflict in Malaysia, but since that time they don't have a conflict. But actually, Malaysia has a problem of Sulu, the Mindanao and then Sulu Island, Sabah, that area, because it was the Sulu kingdom before. So again, the same as who put the border, it's by big power, so they cannot manage of that. But anyway, so Malaysia government actually doing a facilitator for the Mindanao case. And then in the Mindanao case, there are a lot of countries, for example, Japan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and England is the international monitoring missions. They are in the observer status. And 4 NGO, Muhammadiyah, Indonesia Muhammadiyah, and then the HDC, Swiss, Conservation Resources England, and then Asia Foundation America. These four countries, 4 NGO are get together and then see the peace process of the Mindanao. Facilitator is the Malaysian government. In Pathani case, Southern Thailand case, again, Malaysia is the facilitator. So the BRN, Barisan Revolution Nasional, the armed group, Pathani armed group, versus Thai government. Malaysia government is the middle. Actually, Malaysia is not the mediator, facilitator. And then Malaysia also a kind of stakeholder, because beside of the country. So they also need to solve the problem, So the one of the stakeholder, I can say. But as a government, they try to build peace. So definitely, again, tadi bilang JK, jadi I can say JK also, and then others want to be the facilitator or mediator for the conflict, at least in Southeast Asia countries. But the problem is, Indonesia has a Papua problem, So the other countries say that, hey, you also have a problem. Why you are, So that's also things. So I think it is good to solve the problem Papua first, but very difficult. But Papua things, and but still, Indonesian government, for example, right now is for the Myanmar case. Indonesian government try to somehow initiate ASEAN meeting and want to solve something, for the Myanmar issues. But so far not succeed, but it's a good trial. And then the Japanese government also try to solve the problem of Aceh first, but the big fail, 2003, during the Megawati period. Actually, Swiss initiated peace talk, and then Japan helped. Japan, America, EU helped. So the Koha peace process happened 2002, 2003. But the Tokyo meeting, complete fail, and go back to the total war in Aceh. So Japan also tried, but there is failed story too. And Japan now is helping Mindanao, but not, so far okay in Mindanao, and continuously Japanese government, helping the Mindanao development and peace and development. And then the Myanmar issues, now Japan also actually key player. So let's see what Japanese government can do. So the answer is the inside the country there is a communal conflict or vertical conflict. Of course, government is a big big role to play, the big role for peace. Because the government have to compromise, or government have to deal with those conflicting parties. So government is very important, but also they can try to solve, another countries or neighboring countries. So, and again, Indonesia has a big potential because Indonesia have a lot of experience of the conflict. The government or the politician also knows the conflict a lot. So they can analyze the conflict. They can also see the conflict better, objectively. So Indonesian government, I hope, Indonesian government can play the key role for peace building in Southeast Asia countries. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Akiko-san.
Yep.
Yeah, it's also a good point. Yeah. Anyone can answer? Anyone can ask again? Imam, raise a hand. Aulia. Oh, so many.
Yes, Toron. Yes, please.
Okay, silakan. Aulia.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Hello, Miss. My name is Aulia. A few moments ago, if I'm not mistaken, we were talking about critical thinking, and an idea suddenly came up in my mind, and it is, I think, or maybe this is an opinion. Since the beginning, people from the tropics are not used to critical thinking because they have it all easily and instantly. We don't need to survive cold weather. All plants can grow, which means we are spoiled by nature. We didn't need to colonize other countries for spices. So our minds are not trained for survival. So is it, or maybe do you think it is possible that the lack of critical thinking in people from the tropical area is it possible that it is one of the reasons that there are a lot of conflicts in the tropical area? What do you think, Miss?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes.
No, it's a very interesting. Actually, I was also thinking that maybe the sun, the sun matter a lot. I was thinking when I was living in Ambon because so many fish, and then they sell the fish, and then tomorrow they buang semua. Sudah terlalu ini di luar tidak segar jadi buang gitu. For Japan, we don't have a natural resources and the limited source. That's why very much the simpan, the tahan lama we can eat for 3 months and 6 months. Why? Because we have a winter season, so we can during the winter season we can no agriculture things grow, long time ago. So we have to survive for 3 months without any tumbuhan, So that's why we have to prepare. We have to think longer term. Otherwise, we cannot survive. So I totally agree that somehow related with the weather or the sun maybe. But I don't think that the tropical peoples are not the critical thinking, critical, the mindset, because there are so many super orang pintar di Indonesia, So of course there are some behavior I can say that related to the weather that I also feel the same, agree with you. But currently so many, for example, Indonesia, a lot of innovation happens, and then so many new things happens. So not because of they don't have a critical mind or a critical thought, but just matter of practice, I think. So that's why because there's a need, and then they start to think. So then happens something. So we actually Japan also really want to learn from Indonesia, So because of the innovation things, innovative issues, we are very much behind actually in Japan. For example, Grab. For example, the Gojek. Indonesia Gojek, yeah, maybe. But that kind of things also started from Indonesia, not from Japan. That's also one of the example that just the tropical people cannot think critically, but maybe behavior is more santai, more relax. That's true because not tidak dingin ya. Kalau dingin ya Pak Helmi harus buru-buru semua karena natural dingin.
Betul.
Ya begitu saja. Ya terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih Akiko-san.
Ya, maybe one more.
Yeah, one
1
more.
minute, yes.
Oke, dan ada Melona, silakan. Pertanyaan terakhir ya.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Akiko, for your presentation. I want to ask you something. Maybe you've already talked about the resolution on the conflict on those countries that you've mentioned, but I want to ask you about your opinion based on your experience studied the conflict in those countries that you've mentioned. What's the best action for the country which has many natural resources, so we can minimize the conflict that caused by the natural resources? As we know that the conflict, we cannot avoid the conflict. So how to minimize the conflict caused by the natural resources? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Good question. I mean, the important to understand the law also, undang-undang. So it means that we have to mean that the people who are in the rich natural resources regions, need to have longer term, the perspective, and then related to the natural resources law, it's really have to make. Otherwise, easy to, not the destroyed, but in Indonesia there are so many local wisdom to maintain the natural resources. For example, in Ambon, there is called sasi. So the certain period of time, they don't take any, coconuts, for example, fish, or to maintain their agricultural product, So they have their own, how to say, the local wisdom. So that's why I can say that see again the local wisdom that they already have, but also the related to this local wisdom and then the current the law system, have to combine. And then if the foreigners come or whatever come, but have to protect by yourself, For that you have to build a lot of regulations or law, not to destroy all those natural resources. Then you can manage, you can deal with the natural resources by yourself. This skill is very important. So again, just I also mentioned, but the awareness rising of the people very important, because this natural resource is ours, So we have to maintain, we have to use sustainably these natural resources. So maybe you can use a local wisdom or making a lot of regulation or whatever. So that's also important. So awareness rising is very important. And then also need to skill of the negotiation too, because you have to sell. You economically you have to survive. So you have to deal with others. So then not only just the natural resources, because natural resources in the future maybe habits, yeah. So you have to have alternative too, not only just rely on natural resources. That I think also very important. But what I can say is that to the conflict resolutions issues, the awareness is so important. Awareness means that the people in the regions, which natural resources they have and how to maintain these, natural resources, and how to not to become the source of conflict. No, prevention is very important. So among them, they really need to have a dialogue. No? Yes, something like that. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you very much. I think all question has got an answer. So thank you, Akiko Sensei.
ありがとうございます。
Arigatou gozaimasu for your precious time, and then I'm really appreciate your time and your insightful. Can we take a photo before we leave? Everyone, can you
Camera on.
on cam? Ya, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much. I hope we
Okay.
can meet again and discuss
Yes. Sure.
online. If you can come to Bogor, we can arrange the discussion again.
After
Okay.
Corona, saya pergi ke Indonesia ya. Sampai
Okay.
ketemu, sampai jumpa.
Sampai jumpa, Sensei. Terima kasih.
Oke, makasih. Bye.
Bye. Teman-teman jangan leave dulu ya. Oke, kita masih punya waktu kurang lebih 5 menit aja. Saya minta teman-teman gimana tadi? Mengerti nggak? Kalau ada yang nggak ngerti tentang bahasa Inggrisnya gimana? Ada yang mau sharing atau ada yang mau ini pendapatnya? 2 menit, 3 menit aja. Silakan. Saya khawatir ada yang tidak menangkap apa yang disampaikan oleh Akiko-san tadi, atau ada yang mau kasih komen, misalnya wah ini apa keren atau wah kurang bagus mas yang kayak gini, karena kita nanti akan range lagi untuk yang apa diskusi internasional. Saya lagi kontak dari teman-teman di UNEP, mudah-mudahan beliau bisa ya. Saya appreciate sekali teman-teman banyak pertanyaan ternyata. Kalau biasanya kuliah pakai bahasa Indonesia malah jarang yang bertanya. Pakai bahasa Inggris malah banyak yang bertanya. Ini gimana ceritanya? Ada yang bisa kasih komentar nggak? Atau gimana, teman-teman?
Pak, mungkin
Ya,
ya, kalau untuk kuliah yang hari ini tadi awalnya saya juga khawatir ya. Saya katanya dari Jepang, terus khawatir tadi pakai bahasa apa, ternyata campur-campur gitu kan. Tapi untuk bahasa Inggrisnya masih mudah dimengerti. Kalau dari saya sendiri mungkin karena Akikonya juga bukan native English gitu ya. Jadi maksudnya masih bisa dipahami gitu untuk kitanya juga. Terus tadi juga karena beliau berpengalaman, jadi banyak insight-insight baru dari pengalaman. Saya suka sih untuk kuliah Tamu.
Oke, makasih Rizka. Ada lagi yang komen?
Pak, saya Imam izin berkomentar.
Ya, silakan Imam.
Mungkin saya izin mengapresiasi dulu Pak untuk materi tadi, sungguh sangat komprehensif dan sungguh sangat padat gitu. Dan mungkin saran saya membutuhkan waktu yang lebih lama supaya kita lebih bisa memahami case per case-nya lebih mendalam gitu Pak.
Oke. Jadi memahami case-nya ya mendalam. Oke, silakan ada lagi. Silakan yang lain. Memang case yang dibahas agak broad ya dan agak abstrak, terus juga teman-teman saya yakin baru mengenal misalkan tipologi konflik misalnya yang di Pathani, yang di Rakhine, terus juga kemudian dia bicara apa tadi ya kasusnya banyak yang disebut di Myanmar, di Thailand ya, juga di Indonesia, di Ambon dan lain sebagainya. Tapi memang tadi kalau yang saya tangkap memahami sejarah kolonial itu sangat penting untuk membaca apa peta konflik yang ada saat ini ya. Jadi kalau misalnya tadi Akiko berbicara tentang Myanmar, oh ternyata sejarahnya memang seperti itu gitu. Pathani sejarah dari kolonialnya seperti itu, sehingga berimplikasi ke konflik-konflik yang ada sekarang ini. Oke, jadi kalau kuliah umum seperti ini nggak apa-apa ya, kuliah 1 jam, terus kemudian nanti ada tanya jawab teman-teman dan apa bisa explore lebih dalam gitu pengalaman-pengalaman para narasumber gitu kan. Akan lebih kayaknya lebih berwarna gitu. Ada lagi nggak yang lain yang mau komentar?
Saya ingin berkomentar Mas.
Silakan.
Ya, tadi saat Miss Akiko-nya menjelaskan, saya juga berdiskusi dengan teman-teman kan. Dan beberapa ada yang bilang saat konflik yang Pathani terus yang Myanmar itu kurang mengerti gitu Mas. Baru yang masuk ke SDA yang natural resources itu baru pada ngerti gitu semua.
Oke. Memang ya itu tadi kayak kasus di Myanmar, kasus di Pathani itu kan dia hanya overview ya, overview. Jadi kita memang tidak diberikan misalkan dari awal sejarahnya konfliknya seperti apa, terus kemudian aktornya yang terlibat seperti apa. Itu bakal membutuhkan waktu yang lama. Karena makanya kemarin pas dia minta ke saya kira-kira temanya tentang apa, ya udah tentang Southeast Asia aja. Kamu kan banyak pengalaman di Asia Tenggara gitu. Jadi overview singkat aja. Nanti makanya tadi disampaikan misalkan langsung ke inti masalahnya gitu kan, teman-teman nggak ngerti juga. Saya juga, wah ini teman-teman sudah sampai sini belum gitu kan pengetahuannya atau memang ya mungkin beberapa ada yang sudah tahu gitu, tapi beberapa mungkin belum. Jadi tidak sama ininya. Tapi anyway, so far oke ya, teman-teman ya. Mudah-mudahan kita bisa arrange lagi yang seperti ini, diskusi-diskusi seperti ini. Tadi kalau misalkan untuk yang kasus-kasusnya spesifik nanti tentang Papua, tentang Ambon, tentang apalagi tadi Aceh, itu nanti juga kita akan datangkan pelaku-pelaku sejarahnya. Kalau tadi misalkan Akiko menyinggung masalah Ambon ya, itu nanti kita akan datangkan pelaku sejarahnya, bagaimana mereka bisa cerita di Ambon dan lain sebagainya. Terus yang di kasus Aceh juga nanti kita akan datangkan aktor grassroots-nya, Pak Sohib mungkin Pak Sohib masih ada ya? Nanti kita akan Pak Sohib, saya pikir udah live juga. Itu ya. Ada komen nih. Nanti review kasus di Pathani dan Mindanao jadi materi praktikum. Boleh juga. Jadi untuk praktikum minggu ini ya, bisa nggak teman-teman? Iya. Gimana Pak Sohib?
Nanti kasih bahan ya.
Oh iya, siap. Kita akan carikan bahannya. Nanti teman-teman praktikum untuk minggu ini bisa kasus Pathani dan Rakhine. Ini kan kalau ada 4 kelompok, nanti 2 kelompok bahas Pathani, 2 kelompok bahas Rakhine itu. Oke, Mas Sohib ada yang mau ditambahin?
Cukup saya kira.
Cukup ya. Makasih teman-teman, apresiasinya, pertanyaan-pertanyaannya bagus-bagus sekali. Ini kita record dan saya mengapresiasi teman-teman ternyata menyimak semua kuliahnya dan berpartisipasi aktif dalam diskusinya. Bahasa Inggrisnya juga keren-keren ya. Oke, makasih ya. Terima kasih. Izin live semuanya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Pak.
Terima kasih Mas.
Terima kasih Mas.